When we look around today, one of the strangest and fastest growing internet trends is something people are calling AI slop. It's a phrase that sounds funny at first, almost like a joke, but behind it lies a very real phenomenon that is shaping what millions of people see online every day. AI slop refers to a flood of bizarre, strange, and often low-quality AI-generated content that spreads rapidly across platforms like YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. It is made using artificial intelligence tools that can generate images, videos, or voices at lightning speed. These creations often look distorted, uncanny, or outright absurd, and yet they attract an incredible number of views. People are drawn to them, not because they are beautiful or polished, but because they are so weird, so confusing, and so different from what human creativity normally produces. This is the new frontier of internet culture, and it tells us something deep about both technology and human psychology. To really understand why AI slop exists and why it spreads so fast, we need to pause and ask what kind of environment the internet has become. For more than a decade, algorithms have been the invisible gatekeepers of our attention. When you open your feed, it is not you choosing what to see. It is the algorithm predicting what you might stay glued to. And the truth is, algorithms don't care about beauty, originality, or truth. They care about engagement. If something makes you stop scrolling for 2 seconds, if it makes you laugh or feel disgusted or even unsettled, the algorithm counts that as a success. And so AI slop flourishes because it captures attention. It doesn't matter if the video looks like a half-melted cartoon character eating food in a surreal loop. It doesn't matter if the voices sound robotic or if the story makes no sense. What matters is that people look, people comment, people share, and the algorithm rewards it with more reach. There is a reason why people are both disturbed and fascinated by AI-generated nonsense. Deep in our brains, we are wired to notice the unusual. For thousands of years, human survival depended on spotting the odd thing in the environment. The sound that didn't fit, the shadow that seemed strange, the movement in the grass that didn't belong. Those instincts are still inside us. When we see an AI-generated video of a child with too many fingers holding a melting toy, we can't look away. Our brain is shouting, something is wrong. Pay attention. And that is exactly what AI slop exploits. It gives us a stream of things that feel off, things that puzzle us, things that make us laugh nervously or even feel creeped out. But all of that means we keep watching. The rise of AI slop also reflects how easy it has become to create content today. In the past, making a video took planning, cameras, editing, time, and effort. But now, anyone with a laptop or phone can generate a flood of images or clips in seconds using free or cheap AI tools. It is like opening a faucet, and the content just pours out. Some people use this power to create meaningful art, deep storytelling, or thoughtful analysis. But many use it simply to pump out volume. The more videos you post, the higher the chance one of them goes viral. And so AI slop is born, not out of careful creativity, but out of a race for clicks, views, and ad revenue. Think about it for a moment. What does it mean when our digital spaces are filled with strange, mass-produced AI fragments? It means we are entering a time when originality is no longer the main driver of visibility. Instead, weirdness and volume dominate. The internet has always been a strange place, but with AI, the strangeness has been multiplied by machines that never sleep, never tire, and never stop producing. A human artist can make one painting in a week. An AI can generate thousands of distorted images in a single afternoon. And each one of those images could potentially be turned into a meme, a viral post, or part of a video that racks up millions of views. But there is another layer here. Many people actually enjoy AI slop. They laugh at it, they share it with friends, they find joy in the absurdity. In a world that often feels too serious, too stressful, or too predictable, these bizarre AI creations provide comic relief. They are a form of digital junk food, quick, cheap, and strangely satisfying. But just like junk food, they can leave us empty. They can fill our screens without nourishing our minds. And yet, the cycle continues. Because every time we click, the algorithm learns that this is what we want more of. Now, ask yourself this. What does it mean for human creativity when machines can churn out endless content that still manages to grab attention? On the surface, it might look like harmless fun, just a silly trend. But underneath, it challenges the very foundation of what creativity is. For centuries, art and storytelling were considered uniquely human activities, things that required thought, imagination, and emotion. Today, we see machines producing content that people engage with, even if it is nonsensical. That raises difficult questions. If AI can generate endless slop that keeps people entertained, where does that leave the human artist? The human storyteller? The human musician? Are we slowly teaching ourselves to prefer quantity over quality, speed over depth, weirdness over meaning? And yet, there is something in us that still knows the difference. People laugh at AI slop, but they also feel a little unsettled. Deep down, we recognize that this is not the same as true creativity. There is no soul behind it, no human struggle, no story of triumph or pain. It is just output. It is a reflection of patterns, not the birth of new meaning. And that is why people call it slop, because it feels like leftovers, like the scraps of creativity, not the full meal. Still, it is important not to dismiss it too quickly. Even in its bizarre and low-quality form, AI slop is teaching us something important. It is a mirror reflecting what happens when we let machines shape our culture without guidance. It shows us the extremes of what technology can produce when there is no filter for meaning or quality. And perhaps it is a warning. If we don't become more intentional about how we use AI, our feeds, our screens, our minds could be flooded with endless nonsense. Not because AI is evil, but because we have allowed engagement to become the only measure of value. Imagine a child growing up surrounded by AI slop videos. Their sense of humor, their sense of reality, even their sense of beauty could be shaped by this distorted content. That is not science fiction. It is already happening. Kids are scrolling through bizarre AI animations with distorted characters and looping nonsense. And they are laughing, sharing, imitating. The culture of the next generation could be shaped less by meaningful stories and more by algorithm-driven absurdity. That is why this conversation matters. Because AI slop is not just about silly videos online. It is about the future of our shared imagination. As we move forward, we need to start asking better questions. Not just, how do we make more content? But, how do we make meaningful content in an AI-driven world? Not just, how do we get more clicks? But, how do we use technology to tell stories that inspire, heal, and unite? AI itself is not the enemy. It is a tool. But when that tool is used without purpose, it produces slop. And when slop becomes the dominant trend, it risks drowning out the voices of real creativity. So here we are, standing at the edge of a cultural shift. AI slop is funny, bizarre, even entertaining at times. But it is also a warning sign. It shows us what happens when machines take the driver's seat of culture, while humans become passive consumers. And the question we must ask is simple. Are we going to let that happen, or are we going to take responsibility for how this technology shapes our lives? The rise of what people are now calling AI slop can not be separated from the way our digital platforms are built. Every time you open a social media feed, whether it's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, or any of the newer spaces emerging, you are not simply looking at a random collection of videos or posts. You are being fed a stream of content that has been calculated, ranked, and delivered by algorithms designed to maximize your attention. These algorithms do not care about beauty, truth, or human creativity in the deeper sense. They care about one thing above all else: what keeps your eyes glued to the screen. And this is where AI slop finds its opportunity. Because AI-generated bizarre videos with their surreal imagery, repetitive patterns, or strange half-human, half-machine quality are sticky. They confuse the mind just enough to keep you watching, to make you wonder what's going on. And in that brief hesitation, the algorithm interprets your attention as engagement. And engagement means more of the same gets produced, recommended, and amplified. You see, when people talk about viral trends, They often assume because millions of individuals all independently find something interesting and choose to share it. But in reality, the machinery of virality today is largely shaped by algorithmic systems that detect tiny signals of attention and then magnify them at scale. If a handful of people watch an AI slop video twice, or if they hover over it, or if they replay it out of confusion, the algorithm reads that as a signal that the content is worth boosting. Suddenly, thousands more are exposed to it, and if even a fraction of those people react with the same confusion or curiosity, the snowball effect begins. Within days, something utterly bizarre can dominate feeds across the world, not because it has deep meaning or quality, but because it triggered the right mechanical signals of attention. Now, consider the psychology of the viewer. Human beings are naturally drawn to the strange and the unfamiliar. Our brains evolved in environments where noticing anomalies was a matter of survival. If you heard a sound in the forest that didn't belong, you paid attention because your life might depend on it. That same instinct is still alive in us today, and when we encounter an AI-generated video that looks almost human, but not quite, or a surreal mashup of sounds and visuals that doesn't fit our expectations, our minds lock onto it. We can't help but give it a few seconds of attention. And that small pause is all the system needs to register the content as worthy. What makes this even more powerful is the sheer speed of AI generation. Unlike human creators who might spend hours, days, or even weeks crafting a thoughtful video, AI can churn out endless bizarre clips in seconds. This creates a flood, a constant stream of strange, uncanny, low-effort material that drowns out more meaningful work. And in a world where quantity can overwhelm quality, the flood itself becomes a weapon. People scrolling through their feeds are overwhelmed with odd, quirky, unsettling images or short clips, and they begin to consume it almost passively, the way you might snack on junk food. Even though you know it's not nourishing. It satisfies a craving in the moment, but it leaves you emptier in the long run. But the danger is deeper than just wasted time. When people are constantly exposed to low-quality, surreal, and bizarre AI content, their sense of what counts as creativity can begin to shift. If the feed is filled with endless slop, the standard for what is considered interesting begins to fall. People might start to lose patience for nuanced storytelling or real human creativity because it doesn't grab attention in the same immediate, shocking way. This is one of the most troubling consequences. Not only does AI slop dominate algorithms, but it begins to subtly rewire our expectations as audiences. And when expectations fall, so too does the incentive for creators to aim higher. At the same time, there is a kind of feedback loop between viewers and platforms. The more people watch AI slop, the more platforms push it. The more platforms push it, the more people watch. And caught in the middle are human creators who feel pressure to either imitate the low-quality, bizarre style or risk being drowned out completely. Many genuine creators now talk about the frustration of pouring their heart and soul into a project, only to see it ignored while an AI-generated mashup of nonsense racks up millions of views. This imbalance doesn't just discourage creators. It also weakens the cultural value of creativity itself. If we look historically, every new medium has had its growing pains. When photography first appeared, some said it would kill painting. When film appeared, some said it would ruin theater. But in each case, the new medium eventually found a place that complemented human creativity rather than replacing it. The difference with AI slop is that it doesn't aspire to complement creativity. It often bypasses it entirely. Its purpose is not to expand imagination, but to exploit attention. That's why it feels different. That's why it feels darker. Because it's not simply a new tool. It's a flood of synthetic content designed to maximize clicks without caring about meaning. Now, let's think about the cultural effect of that flood. Imagine if every meal you ate for a month was fast food. It would fill your stomach, but your health would decline. In the same way, constant exposure to AI slop fills your feed but starves your soul. Over time, it dulls your sense of taste for authentic expression. This doesn't just affect individual viewers. It begins to reshape collective culture. Conversations become shallower, trends become stranger, and the line between meaningful creativity and synthetic distraction becomes blurred. And in that blur, something precious is lost. But it's important to understand why this phenomenon is so sticky in the first place. It's not because people are stupid or lazy. It's because human beings are wired to be curious about novelty, and AI is currently the most powerful novelty engine the world has ever seen. The problem is not curiosity. The problem is what happens when curiosity is hijacked by systems that have no respect for human well-being. In that hijacking, people find themselves consuming more and more bizarre content without realizing how it shapes their minds and habits. And there's another layer to this. The role of monetization. Platforms profit from attention, and attention is easier to capture with shock, confusion, and weirdness than with subtlety, nuance, or artistry. Advertisers don't particularly care if the content you watch is profound or absurd, as long as you keep watching and see the ads. This means there is little incentive for platforms to reduce the spread of AI slop. On the contrary, the incentive is to allow more of it, because it sustains the attention economy. That's why you see bizarre AI content rising so quickly. It serves the financial structure of the internet, and as long as that structure remains, the flood will continue. The danger, however, is not just economic. It is also spiritual, in a sense. Human creativity has always been a way of connecting with each other, of expressing truths, of shaping meaning. When we allow our creativity to be replaced by synthetic slop that has no heart, no story, no soul, we risk disconnecting from one another in deeper ways. We risk entering a world where art no longer reflects human struggle or joy, but instead reflects machine logic. And while machine logic might be efficient, it cannot satisfy the deeper hunger of the human heart. The viewers caught in this cycle may not even realize the long-term effects. They might scroll for hours, feeling entertained in the moment. But later, notice a kind of emptiness, a lack of fulfillment. They may find it harder to focus on longer works of creativity, like novels or films, because their attention has been trained to jump from one bizarre snippet to the next. This is the quiet cost of AI slop. It fragments attention, weakens patience, and erodes the ability to engage with meaningful work. What's even more concerning is that children are especially vulnerable. A child growing up on a diet of AI-generated nonsense may struggle to develop a sense of story, of narrative, of coherent creativity. Their imagination might be stunted, not because they lack potential, but because the environment they grow up in doesn't nurture it. Instead of being exposed to human stories, they are fed endless loops of surreal synthetic fragments. And the effect of that on an entire generation is something we cannot yet fully grasp. So when we talk about AI slop, we're not just talking about silly videos. We are talking about a phenomenon that touches psychology, culture, economics, and even the soul. It reveals the darker side of AI creativity, not because AI itself is inherently evil, but because the systems in which it operates are designed to exploit attention rather than nourish imagination. And unless we become more conscious of how we consume, unless we demand more from our platforms, this trend will only deepen. This is why it's so important to pause and reflect. Every time you find yourself mesmerized by a bizarre AI video, ask yourself why. Is it curiosity? Is it confusion? And then ask, is this how I want to spend my attention? Because your attention is not just a resource. It is your life, moment by moment. And if you allow it to be consumed by synthetic slop, you are giving away pieces of your life to something that doesn't care about you. But if you reclaim it, if you choose to spend it on creativity that uplifts, on stories that resonate, on expressions that carry meaning, then you strengthen not just yourself, but also the culture we all share.